Robert the Reaper Whittaker!
We were all wrong about Whittaker, and here is why. The Reaper has been with the UFC for 12 years, and his name has appeared in epic battles and championship fights. Considering his long tenure, one might think he is a veteran nearing his 40s, well past his prime, slowly but surely approaching retirement. But the reality is, Robert Whittaker is only 33 years old, in his prime, coming off a solid performance against Paulo Costa, and now setting his sights on UFC gold. That being said, let's take a deep dive into Whittaker's situation in the UFC and reveal why he will transition from the greatest middleweight gatekeeper to an undisputed UFC champ. While many see Khamzat Chimaev as the boogeyman who is impossible to defeat, few realize that Bobby Knuckles is arguably the worst possible matchup for Boers, who can convincingly beat him and blast his way to the title. The two are set to lock horns on June 22, 2024 at UFC on ABC 6, and the winner will fight for the undisputed belt.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this fight. I think it's going to be a hard fight. I'm going to take that same mentality into this fight and look to take him to war and just earn this win. I'm going to earn this win, and this puts me in perfect direction for a title shot and condition for a title shot, which has always been the goal.
But the question is, why is everyone sleeping on Whittaker? Why do they think that his time has passed and he lost his chance to win the championship belt? July 8, 2017, after going through a 5-round war with Yoel Romero, Bobby Knuckles won the interim UFC middleweight belt. The unlucky Australian was not able to unify the undisputed title, as he was viciously knocked out by Israel Adesanya. Although Robert fought the best and beat monsters like Darren Till, Jared Cannonier, and Kelvin Gastelum, next on February 12, 2022, he was stopped by Adesanya again, this time by a close decision. Being a top contender for years, but remaining the second best, leads to many fans turning their backs on the Reaper. It looked like Israel had his number, and no matter how hard Robert tried, he was always out-muscled by the African. Whittaker bounced back with a big unanimous victory decision against Marvin Vettori. But then again, another African, Dricus du Plessis, broke Robert's title aspirations. Considering that every fight is different, Whittaker has no doubt that he is a better fighter than Dricus overall.
Dricus is a hungry guy, man. You saw in his last fight. And I think I underestimated that hunger. You know, I still do believe I beat him 9 times out of 10. I still believe that I'm a better fighter than he is, that I have a better skill set than he does. But, mate, I've got a big, strong guy that's hungry and willing to leave it all there. You need to match that. I feel like I didn't do that in that last fight.
Whittaker later admitted that this was a good wake-up call and a learning experience for him. On February 17, 2024, the Reaper had a dominant performance against Paulo Costa, which set him up for an epic showdown against Chimaev next. What people don't understand is that style makes fights. Yes, it looks like Adesanya has Robert's number, but stylistically speaking, the fight against Khamzat is a very winnable match for the Australian. Early 30s in MMA is when fighters reach their primes, and this is where Robert Whittaker is at the moment. Some would say that wrestling should be a crucial factor in his upcoming fight against Chimaev, but little does anyone know that Robert is an elite wrestler himself. Whittaker started wrestling in 2015, surprisingly joining the Australia Cup in Canberra. He won all 3 of his matches. At that event, he even talked about possibly representing Australia in the Olympics or Commonwealth Games. He came back to wrestling in May 2017 at the Australian National Wrestling Championships and won gold in the 97-kilogram division. After this win, he entered Australia's 2018 Commonwealth Games 97-kilogram qualifying tournament in November 2017. Once again, he came in first in his division, earning a spot to represent Australia in the 2018 Commonwealth Games on the Gold Coast, where he had his first UFC fight. Whittaker said he would only compete in the Commonwealth Games if it didn't interfere with his UFC commitments. In March 2018, it was confirmed he would be one of 8 Australians in the Commonwealth Games wrestling competition in April 2018, but Robert had to pull out less than 3 weeks before the event to avoid the risk of losing his UFC championship title. The UFC was worried that an injury from the Commonwealth Games could prevent him from fighting for the middleweight championship at UFC 225 against Yoel Romero on June 9, 2018.
I'd like to think that I'm going to go in there with a speed advantage and a striking advantage. I'm going in there thinking that I think one of his greatest strengths is the fact that he can force the wrestling on people. And I think it's going to be a little harder to force the wrestling on me just because of my distance, because of my control of spacing.
When you look back at Robert's resume, he never had problems with wrestlers and always emerged victorious. His kryptonite seems to be elite strikers like Adesanya and Duplessis, who are primarily kickboxers. But when it comes to wrestlers, the Australian always knew how to grab them by the horns and get the victory. Yoel Romero is an Olympic wrestler. Robert beat him twice. Derek Brunson is a good wrestler, yet Whittaker head-kicked him to oblivion. Kevin Gastelum and Marvin Vettori are elite wrestlers as well, but they stood no chance against the Australian. So, would Khamzat Chimaev be another wrestler added to Whittaker's win column? That's a very likely scenario, and here is why. Robert's championship pedigree gives him a significant edge in endurance and mental fortitude. He has been in multiple 5-round battles, showcasing his ability to pace himself effectively and conserve energy for the later rounds. In contrast, Chimaev has yet to face the demands of a 5-round fight, potentially putting him at a disadvantage as the fight progresses. One of Whittaker's key strengths is his exceptional takedown defense, which could prove crucial in neutralizing Khamzat's grappling heavy style. Whittaker's ability to keep the fight standing would force Chimaev to engage in striking exchanges, where Whittaker's prowess is widely regarded as one of the best in the UFC. If Whittaker can staff Chimaev's takedown events and force him to keep the fight on the feet, he would likely outclass Chimaev in striking, especially in the later rounds. If he can implement his game plan effectively, the Australian would pull off an upset and have his shot at Duplessis' title. Whittaker's latest performance was a big unanimous decision victory over Paulo Costa at UFC 298, positioning him well for another shot at the title. If he secures a rematch with the 185-pound champion Duplessis, Whittaker is already contemplating the adjustments he would have to make for a more favorable outcome. When asked about what he would do differently if he fought the South African in a rematch, this is what the Reaper had to say.
Oh, everything. You saw my headspace moving into the last fight. That was a hard fight, and I was in there, and I beat Costa just on hunger. I beat him with just determination and grit, and that's what I feel I lacked most in the fight with Dricus. So having that and the confidence of my past fight and the confidence that I can control my own headspace, yeah, everything's different.
Also, the Australian mentioned that his eyes are set on the belt, regardless of who has it, but he would prefer to take it away from Dricus, the guy who caused him his most recent loss.
It is just about getting the belt back. The goal never changes, and not for personal reasons anyway. But the idea that Dricus has the belt, I can, get 2 birds with 1 stone, sounds pretty good.
From what can be seen, it looks like Robert's mind is in the right place. He has shown before that he can learn from his mistakes and return better than ever. The first time he fought Adesanya, he was viciously knocked out in the 2nd round. When they fought the 2nd time, Robert was a different man and gave Israel one of the hardest fights of his career. That fight was close and could have gone either way. But what we've learned from that was that Whittaker learned from his past mistakes to become a better version of himself. If he beats Khamzat, and most likely he would, we can expect a completely different man against Duplessis, should the UFC match them for a rematch. When you are 33 years old, in your prime, with tons of experience, and looking better than ever, a shot at the title is just a matter of time. Michael Bisping became a UFC champ in his late 30s. How about Glover Teixeira, who claimed the belt in his 40s after battling in the octagon for over a decade? The Reaper has plenty of time to do it. With Adesanya absent and not hinting at a return, there is nobody in this division that Robert can't beat. With Alex Pereira fighting at a different weight class now and Israel sitting on the couch, Whittaker is arguably the best kickboxer at middleweight. Combine that with excellent takedown defense and defensive wrestling, you get a killing machine eager to conquer. The only concern about Bobby Knuckles is that we don't know how deteriorated his chin has become over the years, or whether he can take a punch and keep going. However, in his fight with Paulo Costa, he proved that he could take a powerful kick, weather the storm, and still emerge victorious. So, will Robert Whittaker be the champion again? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain, he's not done yet. We'll see you in the next one.